Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is BK International Talent Scout. We're coming to you live with a poetry night. We have old Kesha, a poet in the Pacific Northwest. She's ready to share her heart, her poetry, and her future with you. Hello, old Kesha. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Before we get started with your poetry, give us some background how you started writing poetry.
Sure. I started writing particularly when I was about 9. I remember getting a little journal for my birthday from one of my aunties, and I would just kind of write my feelings in them. And then I really was interested in rapping, so I would write little raps, but then I would turn the raps into poems because I remember around this time we were doing like Edgar Allan um like poetry, reading poetry books, and I would memorize the poetry over recess, and then go back in and recite them to my teachers, and they recommended that I start writing poetry, and so I thought, okay, I already have raps that I would write because my family was really big on like, freestyling stuff, and at that time I was going back and forth from my dad and my stepmom's house to my birth mother's house, and so we'd have little family gatherings, and I was kind of like the black sheep. But when I was over there, I was really like the entertainer at that age, and so I would kind of read my stuff to them, and then I started sharing with my teachers some of my writings, and they said, "Oh, you're really good at this. Like you should keep it up." So over the years, like I just kept writing, and really turned into something as a hobby. And I never really took it as like a real thing. I thought it was just a gift that I had. Um, and then I would say like once I got into college, we had these open mic nights where every now and again I would do poetry there too. And every now and then I would send my poetry to different states for competitions. And and then when I turned 21, I chose to stay in Seattle instead of going to New York and pursuing kind of like a poetic ambiance about myself and kind of introducing the world to me as a poet. Um, I'm just on and off, trying to find myself, find a career path, and be a poet. And we combine all three, while working on life. Um, just kind of I felt fell into this role or roller coaster. I just always knew that like Jesus placed poetry in me to inspire and uplift others and share my most moments in my kids with the world. It kind of just thing that I do that I love to do, and I do it every day. Yeah.
So you write poetry every day?
Yes, every day. I write at least 3 to 4 times every day. Even if it's just time, I can wake up. I will tell myself sometimes I'll be inspired by something that I'm doing, a book I'm reading, or a thought, and I have to write it down on my phone or on like a bucket of journal book, and I have to write it down or write it down, and I'll save it to myself in my text, in my email, and somebody might end up wake up with a chunk of writing. Whoever's in my in their text phrase at the top, they're gonna wake up with a reminder of new poem word, and I just have to poetry. written down. I have different methods to, um, not lose body of work. But yeah, I write a lot. They're not all, but there's several random stanzas, tree, um, all over.
That is really good. Can you read your first poem to us now? Are you ready to read
Yes,
your
I'm
first poem?
ready. This one particularly, I think, is a good one to start off, because it has some. So I think this is a perfect start. To what we got going. Right. Poetry is her purpose. Spoken is her word discussion. Just found her rhythm, rhyme, essentially help feel because every last time you felt that. You said that's me. She tells my story and she's good at it. Not holding back, no details are submitted. I forgot about that. Tell me who you are, dirty, telling all my strengths. As if she's reading my diary, page after page, exposure, burn it. Now, I'm not ready yet, but she just stop. In fact, my ears are moving sharply, the word vibrate the microphone. Why is she so mad? So at this thing called poetry, acting so nonchalant, like doesn't bother her. His story is her story, nonchalant. It's so easy. Poetry, it's so her purpose. She's so good at it. Spoken is her word. She's got the paper at the edge of it.
Wow. What inspired you to write that poem?
This one was more of one of the ones. I actually am trying to. Well, I'm currently trying to redirect the essence of poetry, and I'm looking for a very write a poetry book. But every time something comes up, I don't do it. I want to write an intro to my poetry and have to know the beginning points. And so this is thinking about like what is a book that would welcome all the other poetry, into the book. So I really want to this year focus on a poem, and I want one of the Muslim poems, to into my world.
Oh, that is so good. Hey, do you remember the when we did the poetry at the Rainier Avenue Radio studios before the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a fun experience there. Um, let's talk about where do you recite your poetry live?
So we'll talk about where I go when I really want doing it. Because insecurities and stuff. I've been wanting to post online like this, and more poetry. Want to make visual, create a whole visual output of my poetry. However, right now, what's careful is keeping mics downtown. It's called Place Inside. Um, and they do poetry or open mic every second Saturday, and then I believe I might be getting my every last Friday they do poetry night. So that's where you find me performing. I don't think I um performing since I found out about it. And I was like, I think they're just here in person here, which one? But I didn't know about it to the third thing. So I was like, and then at the third one, that's when I learned about it. I performed that very first time. I've been going.
Wow.
So that's where
Uh,
for me, um, performing for the most part. I'm gonna try to get back into doing going to Birmingham on Thursdays to open mic. And obviously, whenever that's commutable for I don't drive, I can go to and do open mic. I'm open that. I really am to start posting on different media platforms and doing live sessions where engage and I talk about it, where that poem came from, and then like I said, creating little instead of music, it's poetry out of visual to really bring the essence of the poem to life. So that's my really been watching for a couple of years now.
oh, that sounds good. Hey, let's hear another poem by old Keisha.
All right. So this one we had a fundraiser last year around February. I for my fundraiser business or project. One of the guys came and donated a good amount of money. He asked me to write a poem for the newspaper in this area. So this is what the poem I submitted, and it's called Skin. I was then and ready to hang my skin on the coat rack because everything jumped off me like a cheap postal stamp. But I woke up and I decided today is a great day to create something beautiful from scratch. And when I'm done, I'll invite everyone to my backyard because although I smiled or laughed at tears, I never forgot what witnessing unity felt like. You for S, N for nourishment, I for integrity, T for tactful, Y for yes, you can be happy. Yes, I can be as creative as I please. Yes, we do deserve safety. Freedom freezes over. I was there ready to hang my skin on the coat rack because everything stripped off me like a cheap postal stamp. But I woke up and decided today is a great day to create something beautiful. Today I choose to hang a golden skin on an empty white wall with the paint full of colors. And from that, I would paint until every wall was covered with beautiful shades and tones, textures, and patterns, symbolizing the divine and skin of our people.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful, Keisha. Before we go, how did you come up with your name, Keisha? Is that your poetry name?
No, okay, is my birthday name. Head Soul is my stage name because I write plays, I do visuals, I do music. I'm creative all assets, from paintings I was allowed on my wall. So it's creative and cooking. I love creative and so Kid Soul which is
which
kind
is
of
kind of
my
my
name
name
with the
with
song, like
like
that
that
song.
song.
So it's
So
Kesha
the
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 song,
song,
head out
hear
song,
that song,
and people
and
call me
people come
Kesha. Since the
since
Kesha took my name
the
Kesha, so I
so I
just
just
put K down
came
song,
out
K down
came
song,
out
Kesha
Keisha
with the
with the
song,
song,
you know.
you know. Sounds good. Before we end this podcast and then go into the audio podcast, who do you want to give a shout out to?
Um,
Um,
Jesus,
Jesus.
um,
Um,
my
my
Lord and
Lord,
Savior, He's my
he's my
Savior, He's my
favorite, my
protector,
prayer,
who gets
who
me up
gets me
out
up
of bed
out of
every
bed every
day,
day,
or
or
I don't feel like
I
getting
feel like
up
getting up
bed the
bed
next
the
day.
next.
But
But
besides my
besides my
loved
loved
ones,
ones,
you
you
know,
know,
I owe it
I owe
all
it all
just because
because
our
our
relationship
relationship
is doing
is doing
stronger,
stronger,
and
and
like
like
I owe it
I
all
owe it
to
all
everything.
everything
To
to
someone
someone
who
who
struggles
struggles
lots
lots
of
of
health
health
issues and
issues and
traumatic
traumatic
experiences.
experiences.
Meet
Meet
different
different
people.
people.
I
I
found
found
so
so
many
many
amazing
amazing
opportunities
opportunities
to
to
share
share
in
in
my
my
passions in
passions in
life
life
and the
and the
things that
things
I
that I
love being
love being
able
able
to
to
take
take
that,
that,
create
ate
something,
something,
and
and
then
then
fill other
fill
people
out
up with
with
the
the
love
love
and
and
the
the
abundant
abundant
things that I
that
have.
I have.
So
So
my
my
old
old
today,
today,
you
you
know,
know,
he's the
he's the
first
first
of my
of
life.
my life. Oh, that's so good. We did a 15-minute poetry session with old Keisha. We're going to end this and then we're going to start an audio podcast for Rainier Avenue Radio World. Stay tuned for the next show.